Hopefully you guys can see everything. So disclaimer, I got the first half okay, and then the second half is kind of freestyling it. So just bear with me. So yeah, this presentation is going to be about Web3 gaming, more specifically the metaverse. So if it's broken down in 2 words, meta meaning beyond, verse is universe, all space and time. So it's beyond space and time. So in theory, it sounds cool. The practical side is quite difficult. So ideally, let's just take a step back and think ideally, what would the metaverse have? What kind of features would it have? So right out the box, it would be really nice to have true ownership of your assets, or whether it's physical or digital. Let's stick with digital for now. Once you have these assets, you should be able to trade it anywhere, any marketplace. And of course, multi-world. So you can have this 3D model or 2D model and transfer it from game 1 to game 2, game 2 to VR3, VR3 to website 5, right? So the idea of being able to transfer it anywhere. So that's the ideal world. The reality is it's not like that. The reality is it's quite closed right now. So imagine these as applications, games, VRs. They're all separate, right? They don't talk to each other. They have all their own currency or their own engine, but it's closed off. So how do you solve that? Well, the quick solution is to stick a database in the middle and connect everything to it, right? As we all know in the crypto space, this diagram does not look good for many reasons. One being it's quite centralized, so you have a central point of failure, and whoever owns this kind of takes over everything. It's kind of the heartbeat of this whole ecosystem. So what are companies doing now? Well, you can't have this metaverse yet, so people are using this kind of setup. So imagine these as companies. So company 1, company 2, company 3. They have their own product or their own application or series or suite of applications you can tap into. So if you want, you can jump into ecosystem 1 and have a suite of all these tools. But if you want to jump to number 2, you're going to have some transferring issues. So that's kind of where we are today. So still hasn't answered the question, how do we connect it all? Like everything, right? So I've been thinking about this for a long time. And this whole presentation so far is more about transferring data and information instead of games, right? So this is more of a technical underlying problem. And the solution, I believe, is to use blockchain technology. All of those features mentioned before is solved with crypto or blockchain. So for example, all of this data here is public, right? So each ecosystem can have a copy of it. There is no hoarding or lack of sharing. It's all publicly available. And because of this, you're able to transfer information back and forth freely. And that's kind of the underlying advantage of using blockchain technology. So the cool thing with ChainSafe is that's what we specialize in, right? So we focus on blockchain protocols and infrastructure development. So that's great, but we're not a gaming company. So where do we fit in exactly, right? And this kind of came through experience for myself. Let me explain. So you have 2 tech stacks. One on the left here is for your website, and one on the right here for gaming. If you're trying to build a website, your Sushi Swap, for example, you have all the tech required. So you have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Web3.js, Ethers, and Ethereum, the blockchain. This middle piece here connects the front end to the blockchain, right? All of that tech is built out to do all of this awesome logic. On the gaming side, however, you don't use HTML, CSS to build a game. You use a gaming engine, such as Unity. But the problem is that connection between the gaming engine and the blockchain or Ethereum. It's simply not there, right? So over at ChainSafe, our goal is to fill in this piece, right? Simply fill in that little slot right there. And this piece here is what we call the ChainSafe Gaming SDK. So it's a plug and play SDK for crypto games. No need for Web3 knowledge. If you're a Web2 game developer or VR developer, you can just double click and it should work, right? So everything I've said is all theory, right? So everyone's talking about the metaverse. It's all great and all, but where's the actual product? So let me give you a demo. So this is a video on how to set it up. This is Unity. I'm installing a blank project on my desktop. On the top right-hand corner is the SDK. So to install, you just drag it into the scene, hit import, and just like that, you're connected to the blockchain. Any token, any blockchain. So under here, under prefabs, you have these pockets of functionality. You can send, receive, get the balance of. In this case, I'm getting the balance of an 1155 token. You just drag it into the scene, hit play, go to console, and you see this number, 332. So where's this number coming from? Well, in just a couple clicks, I was able to connect to an existing marketplace. You own 332. So how does it work behind the scenes? Well, if you open up the code, it seems overwhelming, but it's quite straightforward. It's simply copy paste. So if you go to chain info on the left, you just copy over the network, Rinkeby. The contract is 2EBE, and in one line, you can connect to that contract. And now I want to get the balance of my MetaMask account. That's my address, token ID 22, and in one line, I can get that balance of that token. And from there, you can do more logic to send, receive, et cetera. So that's kind of the baseline, infrastructure of what we're building over at ChainSafe. So besides Ethereum, we thought, okay, well, within the blockchain space, you have different blockchains as well. They're their own like mini ecosystems. So we're connecting to not just Ethereum, but Polygon, Moonbeam, et cetera, et cetera. And not just multi-blockchain, but multi-wallet. So we're thinking a broader audience. So not everyone is crypto educated. So we have tools like Taurus to connect with your Gmail account or your Twitter account. MetaMask, of course, and Wallet Connect for mobile devices. So we're quite blockchain and wallet agnostic. So everything looks good, right? As Tim said, everything is available. It's we're figuring it out. So if you want to try it, go to this link here, chainsafe.com, github.com, chainsafe web3.unity, download the SDK. We have documentation, little videos explaining how to set up your own in-game NFT. So this is a project that I have, and start building. So before I wrap things up, here's a quick live demo of what this tutorial, if you follow it, will give you. So this is a game on your browser. It's hosted on IPFS. And you have two options. You can log in or skip. I'm going to skip, so it's not connected to my wallet. And by default, the ball here is white, right? So if I refresh and I connect this to my MetaMask account, my MetaMask account has an NFT that I purchased that changes the ball. You'll see. So connect to MetaMask, sign, has the ball, and it changes the color from white to red. So this is an NFT on chain that I'm pulling in to the game to show for you guys here. So the demo kind of explains how to do this step by step. If you guys want to check it out, and I'll check it out here. If you have any more questions, this is my contact, leon@chainsafe.io. You can also join the Discord. So go to chainsafe.io. At the bottom, there's a Discord link. You can find me there. And that's about it. Thanks, guys.
Nice. Thank you, Leon. Super exciting. What the library could potentially enable. And yeah, just NFTs are a very fascinating and interesting use case for blockchain, definitely. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to raise your hands or just unmute yourself and ask. But we have some questions in the chat. And Jiza from Jiza asks, any showcase of games created with this tech?
Yeah, good questions. Yeah, so we have a few game developers that we're partnering with today. So I've been helping them learn how to use the SDK. This was launched, I think, a couple weeks ago, not even a month. So everything's quite new. yeah, the best way is to have users try it out. Good question.
Cool. Phil, you raised your hand, so please,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Do you hear me well? Yeah. Okay. It's super awesome. How do you solve for the fact that when you share data between some Unity application, that if, for example, you have a sword, does it needs to be the same sword in each game? Because this depends on how they display the data, or is the vision more to be open about it and just do whatever you want with the data that you share on chain?
Yeah, the idea with our project is to be blockchain agnostic. So a lot of the developers now kind of stick with, okay, we're going to use Polygon, and they stick with that. So not many teams are using cross-chain stuff yet, but that's definitely, in the works.
Thanks.
Cool. Paul asks, any resources for beginners coming from a front-end web background?
Yeah, so if you go to the repo and go to the documentation, you have videos. I think it's a series of 8 or 9 videos. You honestly don't even have to learn how to make games. You can, if you know how to double click and type a couple of if-then statements, you can build what I just demoed before.
Thanks. Yeah, and also just to second that, the ChainSafe YouTube playlist has, or the ChainSafe YouTube channel has a playlist for tutorials and stuff for how to use the SDK. Lots of interesting resources there, so check it out. Joe asks, how do you deal with the latency of transaction execution?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, as of right now, everything is on chain. So it's out of our hands. However, you can adjust gas prices, via MetaMask. But that's something not built into the SDK. That's something more on the user side for gas prices.
Cool. Joe, did you want to follow up with that, or is that answer?
Yeah, because it's going to take some time, right? Like even on, let's say even on Polygon, right? It's going to be however long it takes that transaction to propagate and get mined or produced. Would it show would you have some sort of loading feedback, right? Like kind of the way you have in Web3 or ethers, where you kind of have this promise that you're waiting on?
Yeah, all of that's built in. So if you make its transaction, it'll wait for the callback. The timing though is up to the person setting the gas fees. But yeah, all of that is already handled.
Sure. Cool.
Cool.
Maybe just to add one thing there, we could also have Arbitrum support or something like that if users were looking for it. So we do support C-Chain, for example. So if that was an issue for you, you could build on C-Chain and not necessarily have those same latency issues.
Sweet. All right, Leon, thank you so much for popping in. Appreciate it.